In the beginning, there was a woman standing at the edge of everything she had ever known, staring into a future that looked like an endless wilderness. The wind moved through the hills of Moab like a whisper from heaven, but Naomi heard only the echo of her own sorrow. Her hands trembled as she wrapped her cloak tighter around her body, as if she could keep her broken heart from spilling out. Once, she had been a wife. Once, she had been a mother. Once she laughed. But now, she was a widow with empty arms and a soul that felt just as hollow. "10 years earlier, famine had driven her family from Bethlehem to Moab. They left with hope in their steps and prayers on their lips. But the land that promised survival became a graveyard of dreams. First her husband died. Then, one by one, her 2 sons followed him into the dust. 3 graves, 3 shattered lives, 3 women left standing in the ruins. Naomi's daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, were still young, still full of life. They had been bound to her sons, but now those bonds were severed by death. Naomi knew she had nothing left to offer them. No security, no future, no sons to give them, only her grief. So she told them to go. "Go back to your mother's house," she said, her voice cracking like dry wood in a fire. "May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me." Orpah wept, kissed Naomi's cheek, and turned back. But Ruth did not move. The sky darkened, as though heaven itself was watching what would happen next. Naomi looked at her and pleaded, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back. You should go too." But Ruth stepped closer. Her voice was quiet, yet it carried the weight of eternity. "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you," she said. "For where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also if anything but death separates me from you." Those words were not poetry. They were a covenant. Ruth was choosing poverty over comfort, a foreign land over her own people, a broken woman over a fresh start, and she was choosing the God of Israel over every God she had ever known. In that moment, destiny shifted, because heaven had just found a heart it could use. They walked together toward Bethlehem, 2 widows against a cruel world. When they arrived, the town stirred like a beehive. Women whispered. Faces stared. They barely recognized Naomi. "Is this Naomi?" they asked. Naomi laughed bitterly. "Do not call me Naomi," she said. "Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me back empty." But she was wrong. She was not empty. She just didn't know what was walking beside her. Ruth, a Moabite, a woman with nothing but loyalty and faith. And God was about to write history through her. Because in the fields of Bethlehem lived a man named Boaz, a man of wealth, a man of honor, a man who was about to become the hinge on which destiny would turn. But Ruth did not know that yet. All she knew was hunger. So she went to glean in the fields, bending low under the scorching sun, picking up the leftover grain that the harvesters dropped. It was humiliating work, but she did it without complaint. Every grain she gathered was a silent prayer for survival. And without knowing it, she walked into the field of Boaz. The Bible says in Ruth 2, verse 3, "And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz." But there was no accident in heaven. Boaz saw her. Something about her made him pause. "Who is that young woman?" he asked. When he heard her story, how she had left everything to care for Naomi, his heart was stirred. "The Lord repay you for what you have done," he said to her. "May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Those words were more than kindness. They were prophecies. From that day on, Boaz protected her. He gave her food. He told his workers to drop extra grain for her. And Ruth went home with more than she had dreamed of. Naomi saw it and realized something was happening. Hope began to flicker in her broken heart. "Boaz is one of our kinsman redeemers," she said. "He has the right to redeem us." The power shift had begun. Because in Israel, A kinsman redeemer could restore what was lost. He could buy back land. He could marry a widow. He could raise up a legacy where there was only loss. And suddenly, Ruth was no longer just a poor foreigner in a field. She was standing at the edge of restoration. But redemption always comes through risk. One night, Naomi told Ruth to go to Boaz while he was sleeping at the threshing floor. It was dangerous, scandalous. If misunderstood, it could destroy her. But Ruth obeyed. She lay at Boaz's feet, a silent plea for redemption. And when Boaz awoke, everything changed. "I will do all that you ask," he told her. But there was a problem. There was another redeemer closer than him. And if that man claimed Ruth, everything would be lost. The future hung in the balance. Ruth 3 verse 13 says, "Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing, then, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you." A love was standing on the edge of rejection. A destiny was waiting for a decision, and heaven was holding its breath. Because the woman who had come as a widow from Moab was about to become part of a story far bigger than she could ever imagine. A story that would lead to a throne. A story that would lead to a king. A story that would one day lead to Jesus himself. But that is not yet. For now, the dawn was rising. The nearer Redeemer was coming. And Ruth's entire future was about to be decided in a single moment. And if he said yes, Boaz would lose her. Naomi would remain broken. And the lineage of redemption would be forever altered. The book of Ruth would not end the way heaven intended. So the question still hangs in the air. Who will claim Ruth? Who will step forward to redeem what was lost? And what hidden enemy is waiting in the shadows to steal her destiny? Before the sun rose over Bethlehem, something unseen was already moving. In the quiet places between night and morning, when the world holds its breath and heaven leans close to earth, destiny is being negotiated. Ruth lay still at the feet of Boaz. She did not sleep. Every heartbeat sounded like thunder in her ears. Her future, Naomi's future, and the fragile thread of redemption hung on a decision that would be made before the gates of the city were fully opened. Boaz stood in the shadows, staring at the horizon. He was a strong man, a respected man, but in that moment he was also a man who could lose everything he desired. He had made a promise. "As the Lord lives, I will redeem you." But another man stood in his way, a man whose name history would never bother to remember. Boaz turned to Ruth. "Stay here until morning. Do not let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor." He placed 6 measures of barley into her cloak, a sign not only of provision, but of intention. Then he sent her away before anyone could see her. Ruth walked back to Naomi as the sky turned from black to deep blue. Naomi was waiting. "Is that you, my daughter?" she whispered. Ruth told her everything. Every word. Every promise. Every threat. Naomi closed her eyes. "Wait, my daughter," she said, "for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today." And so the battle for redemption moved to the city gate. The gate of Bethlehem was not just an entrance. It was a courtroom, a marketplace, a place where destinies were sealed with words and witnesses. Boaz went there early. He knew the nearer Redeemer would pass by. And when the man came, Boaz called out, "Turn aside, friend, sit down here." The man sat. Boaz gathered 10 elders of the city, men who carried authority and memory. And in front of them all, Boaz laid the case. "Naomi is selling the portion of land that belonged to our brother Elimelech," he said. "You have the first right to redeem it." The man's eyes lit up. Land meant wealth. "I will redeem it," he said quickly. Ruth was not mentioned yet. Boaz waited. Then he spoke the words that would change everything. "On the day you buy the field from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his inheritance." The room went silent. The man's confidence vanished. To redeem Ruth meant risk. It meant responsibility. It meant bringing a foreign woman into his house. It meant that the inheritance might not remain his. And suddenly, what had seemed like profit became a burden. "I cannot redeem it," he said. "It would jeopardize my own inheritance. You take my right of redemption." Just like that, he stepped away. The unnamed man who could have changed history chose safety over destiny. And heaven breathed again. Boaz removed his sandal, sealing the transaction before the elders. "You are witnesses," he declared, "that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech, and also Ruth the Moabite I have bought to be my wife." The women of the city would later say, "May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together build up the house of Israel." But Ruth was not just building a house. She was building a lineage, because from her would come Obed. From Obed would come Jesse. From Jesse would come David. And from David would come the Messiah. Matthew 1 verse 5 would one day record Boaz the father of Obed by Ruth, a Moabite widow, once forgotten in a foreign land, now written into the genealogy of Christ. But not all redemption happens without pain, because even as joy filled Bethlehem, there were shadows moving where no one could see. Ruth was no longer invisible. She was now a threat, a woman whose obedience had altered the future. And whenever destiny shifts, opposition rises. As Boaz took Ruth into his home, Naomi felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. The woman who had called herself Mara, bitter, now held a promise in her arms. But heaven knew something she did not. Every great story of redemption attracts a hidden enemy. Every miracle is challenged. Every divine bloodline is hunted. And somewhere beyond Bethlehem, forces were stirring that would not allow this story to unfold without conflict. Because Ruth had become more than a bride. She had become a doorway through which salvation would one day enter the world. And not every power in the unseen realm was willing to let that door remain open. The wedding was coming. The child was coming. But so was the battle. And the closer Ruth came to fulfilling her destiny, the more dangerous her journey would become. What unseen forces were now watching her? What threat would rise against the bloodline of redemption? And how far would darkness go to stop what God had begun? To every soul listening right now, remember this. Ruth started with nothing but faith and loyalty, and God turned it into a destiny that changed the world. If you feel overlooked, broken, or stuck in a season of waiting, do not give up. Heaven sees what others ignore. Your obedience in the small moments is preparing you for a breakthrough you cannot yet imagine. The same God who lifted Ruth from obscurity to royalty is still writing stories today, and yours is not finished. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40 verse 31. If this story has touched your heart, strengthened your faith, or reminded you that God is still at work, help us spread this message. Subscribe to Word of Eternity, like this video, and share it with someone who needs hope today. You never know whose life God will change through one simple click. Your story is still unfolding. And just like Ruth, your redemption is closer than you NK.